What's going on, guys? It's your boy Shimmy Shimmy, and I'm back with some more First Descendant. Last time we looked at a build for regular Freyna. Today we're going to be looking at a build for Ultimate Freyna. So same thing as last time, we're going to look at her abilities, what she can do. We're going to go over both her builds for 400%, which is basically dungeons, and her bossing build. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so first we're going to be looking at the Contagion build. This is going to be your dungeon build. So it's pretty much the same thing as the last build with a little added stuff. We're gonna go over all that. And there has been a little buff to Freyna that I've noticed, and I will be pointing it out now. Now, I'm not sure how long this buff has been active because I did take a short break from the game, but I am back now. And I'm gonna go over that with you guys. So first we have her one, Venom Trauma. Once again, spreads a puddle of toxic on the ground, spreads room 0 to enemies with the contagion mod over here that'll cause enemies affected by room 0 to explode and spread more room 0 onto other enemies. We also have defense mechanism, which also spreads room 0 trauma once the enemies hit you. So yeah, this increases your defense. It shows you by how much and the duration. And then we have your 3. So last time when I made a contagion build, this ability did not inflict room 0 trauma. Now this is the buff. I'm not sure how long ago this buff was implemented into the game, but this ability now spreads room 0 trauma, which is really good because this is one of her strongest AoE abilities. Now we have her 4. This is going to be her ultimate. This is really good for taking down dungeon bosses and mission bosses, whatever you guys want to call it, but it also does spread room 0 trauma as well. So if you're in a tight space and your abilities are on cooldown, which they shouldn't be on cooldown, but if they are on cooldown and you need to get rid of stuff quickly, you do have access to this 4, which can spread room 0 trauma and spread contagion and take care of the enemies in your way. So now we're going to go over the mods. As you can see, we're going to start off with contagion. This is what we're going to be built around. And you're going to have your, I don't know what to really call this. I'll just call this the mod that increases your slots. You can call this your grapple mod, your melee mod, whatever you want to call it. But I'm just going to call this the mod that increases your slots. So you have midair maneuver. However, you could use multi-maneuver. This is the better option over midair because midair shoots only one. And multi, you can shoot on the ground and get around faster. So let me show you guys an example of that right now. So multi, you can only shoot one and then it's on cooldown and then you have to wait and whatever, right? As opposed to if you were to put on multi, oops, didn't save that. Okay, so as opposed to if you were to put on multi-maneuver, you can get around much faster by just grapple. Oh, it has to recharge, but yeah, you would be able to get around faster by just grappling onto the ground over and over again. And plus it does have a faster recharge rate, so yeah, you get the concept. Then we have Venom Synctium. I'm not sure how to say this, so I'm not even gonna try to. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. But yeah, this gives you critical hit resistance, but that's not why we're using it. We're using it for the toxic skill power, just to give you a little edge when spreading toxic. You don't need this, but I put it here just so that you have a little bit of resistance. I'm not sure if it actually does work, but hey, it does say resistance and it does increase power, so why not have it there? Then we have amplification control. This increases your skill range and your max shield. Shield's not really that important because your shield's gonna break regardless, but the skill effect range does help with these and how they spread. It does help with the room 0 trauma radius as well, as you can see here. The range for the toxic puddles do go from 3.1 meters to 7.4, which is a significant boost because it allows you to affect more enemies when you do spread contagion. Then we have your attack specialist. This is going to increase your skill power modifier. So let's look at the 4, for example. So you see where it says skill power times 768. That's what the skill power modifier actually increases. It increases any any of the numbers that get multiplied by your skill power. Then we have front lines, and okay, yeah, I was thinking about the bossing build. My bad. So we have front lines. This increases your skill crit damage and crit rate. This is gonna help inflict more damage whenever you do hit crits, and try to give you a little bit more chance to hit crits. Then there's skill expansion, which is gonna increase the range once again. This helps with this. It allows you to spread more toxic around the map. Then we have some cooldown stuff and survivability, which is going to be your time distribution. Skill cooldown allows you to use your abilities much faster, increase your max HP so that you have some survivability when doing dungeons. Increase HP to flat out increase your HP. Does nothing else but increase your health, give you some more survivability. Then there's focus on toxic, which decreases your cooldown, allowing you to use those abilities much faster. And it does increase the power of your toxic skills. Now, for the important things, we have HP collector. Now, this is a bit controversial. I've seen Freynas that use MP collector over HP collector. That's completely preference wise. I just use HP collector because it is very easy to die when doing 400% dungeons. If you're doing 250 or regular 100%, you can run MP collector. That's completely up to you. But HP collector, in my opinion, is the way to go because the more shit you kill, you're gonna see a lot of MP pickups underground anyway. So it's not gonna be very necessary to pick up MP to use MP collector. Sorry, I see more MP blocks on the ground than I do HP blocks. So I think HP collector is the way to go here. Now, dangerous ambush. This one is a bit of a funny one. If the enemies, you're only using it because when you land a skill attack, if the enemies aren't targeting you, skill power increases by 24.9%. Now, in terms of the on skill attack against immobilized enemies, I'm not sure if you could immobilize regular ads, but they're most likely going to be dead by the time you even get to that point. So you're just really using it for when the enemies aren't targeting you. And this is really good for 400% because a lot of enemies that spawn in after, like a lot of waves that spawn in after you kill a wave aren't targeting you right away. So you're able to get like a big damage explosion off before those guys even target you. So you do get the buff right away. But yeah, I could show you guys an example of that in just a second before we get into the bossing build. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys an example on the enemies over here. I would show you guys on the 400%, but that does take up a little bit of time. So I'm just gonna show you guys on this enemy, on the enemies over here. For the bossing build, though, I will show you guys in a boss fight because it does shred bosses, so that'll be really quick. But yeah, we're gonna showcase the abilities right now. Everything except for the two because I can't exactly get these guys to attack me to show you defensive mechanism, but all it does is it spreads toxic to the enemies that do attack you at a set chance. So it's nothing really special, but you're not really gonna be using that anyway. So I'm gonna show you guys the one right now. As you can see, way stronger than our first Freyna build. Now that we have her full format out, it clears everything in front of you. And last time when I made the first Freyna build, I told you guys could combo her 1 with her 3. Now, in terms of the buff, where they gave the 3 the same, pretty much the same ability as the 1, you no longer need to combo. You could just flat out use your 3 or 1 and kill a whole horde of enemies without needing to do any increased damage. So you could still do it to get the extra damage, but you don't need to. It's not mandatory. Because if you just use the 3 like this, it gets rid of the enemies much faster than having to use both of them. So you could use your 3 on one horde and then use your 1 on another horde and spread toxic that way rather than just using both your abilities and having them on cooldown on a single horde. But if you are in a closed space, feel free to go crazy and use them both because, well, you're in a tight space. But yeah, now we'll go into the 4. Her 4 is her ultimate. You're not going to really be using it on these guys like I said before, but if you get in a tight spot where these abilities are on cooldown and you need to clear these guys out, you can just simply pull this out, kill one enemy, and it kills the rest of them. It's pretty straightforward stuff. But yeah, without further ado, we're gonna get into the bossing build now. Okay, so now we have our bossing build. Abilities are all the same. Well, just with the added, the change fact that they don't spread room zero. Uh, Okay, now we're gonna get onto the bossing build. All the abilities stay the same except for her defense mechanism, which now changes into Venom Injection, thanks to this red mod over here called Venom Injection. So basically, what this does is it makes it so that you inject yourself with Venom. It takes some of your HP, but it'll also increase your skill power modifier, increase your toxin resistance, and actually recover shield per second. It also okay, I forgot about the corrosion part. It'll also add corrosion to the enemy, so any enemy that you affect whilst in this state will gain corrosion. And what corrosion does is it reduces the enemy's toxic resistance. So that pretty much goes hand in hand with your ult over here, which when you activate this, as you can see, it also adds Nightmare onto the enemies, Room Zero, and it does damage on its own. So you have all this taking damage, plus you're also doing damage with the gun, plus it's buffed by this, and then you have Corrosion, which decreases the toxic buff. So yeah, you can see how that could get a little crazy. Those would literally be the only two things that you use when bossing. However, if you are playing in group play and the boss doesn't go down right away, you do have your 1 and your 3 that you can use as well, as opposed to what you're using here. Once again, mid-air maneuver is pretty good, but for bossing, I would recommend using long distance, but that's completely that's preference, player choice. I use mid-air or multi. I'm not really a fan of long distance, but you can absolutely use that as well because it's really good to get onto those weak points when they're yellow and break them down. But if you're playing solo, you're not going to need any of these. We're going to have Skill Insight over here as your first perk or first mod. This increases your skill crit rate. This is going to be huge when getting those crits on the enemies. Then we have Focus on Toxic, increases your toxic skill power. You're not going to be focused too much on your skill cooldown because you're not going to get it back right away. Then we have Frontlines, increases your crit damage for when you do hit those crits and increases your crit rate by a bit. Then there's Skill Concentration, also increases your crit hit damage as well. Skill Extension, this increases the duration. This is what you want because you want to increase the duration of your 4. Try to get it to last as much as possible. And if you guys remember from my last regular Freyna build, this so basically for the bossing build, when you use your 4, some of the mods on your primary weapon do stack up to your 4, which will help increase the damage as well, or give you some added stuff which we'll go over in a second. And then we have emergency measures. This increases your skill crit rate and crit damage, just like frontline, so these two go hand in hand and add with these, giving you way more damage. Then you have increased HP for a little bit more survivability, time distribution for some cooldown and more survivability. And you have maximum power. This one here, this specific skill is the reason why this and this won't do too much, because when you have this, it takes away 50% of your skill cooldown. So while you're able to do a lot of damage, your skill cooldown is going to be increased by 29.6% if you have these two on. If not, that does go up by a hell of a lot more. So don't expect to get your ult anytime soon. But if you are going to copy this build, it does help get your ult back a little bit faster, but don't expect to get it right away. Then we have dangerous ambush. Sorry. So this, just like your contagion mod, it'll make it so that when you land any so your 4 counts as a skill attack. Any shots from your 4 that land will be considered a skill attack. If the enemy's not targeting you, that damage gets increased by 24.9%. If the Colossi or the boss is on its knees, like in a stun phase, that's considered an immobilized enemy. So you'll get a 49.8% increase to your damage. Uh, this build could do a shit ton of damage. I'll be showing you guys that in a second here. I just want to show you guys the weapon that we're gonna be using. So the weapon we're gonna be using is Fallen Hope. Nothing's really changed from here, from the regular Freyna build. Maybe a couple of mods now. You have your Contagion build. This is not so. In terms of Contagion, you could use whatever gun you want to. Or sorry, if you're going for the exact build I have, Fallen Hope is gonna be your go-to gun because of this reactor right here. Toxic mechanics. Now, for the people that are not really a fan of Fallen Hope or don't have Fallen Hope, you can go Python over this. Python is a pretty good option as well. You can use this over Fallen Hope because they're both pretty good weapons for Freyna, but it's also player preference. However, in terms of substats, I have skill effect range and skill crit damage. Now these both work for bossing and contagion, so I don't plan to change this. But you can get better rolls as well. Although I won't be going for a better roll. I'm not really the full on optimized type, so I'll just satisfy with what I have right now. Same thing for external components. You're gonna want to run Venom Essence. Venom Essence is what gives you the buff to your AR's effect trigger rate, and that does help with the Fallen Hope. Substat wise, doesn't really matter. As you can see, my substats are pretty jank. Nothing special. But yeah, in terms of bossing though, when using the Fallen Hope, your bossing build is very important because these all do add up to what your ultimate will do year 4. So as you can see, the build's not completely optimized in terms of the gun, but you'll see the damage that it outputs. So we have expand weapon charge. This adds more rounds to your magazine, and this also adds rounds to your 4 as well. So anything here that you see that adds rounds to your magazine, it adds those bullets into your 4 as well. So I think the 4, we can check right now. So as is, your 4 starts off with 45 shots. I think I have upwards of 80. I don't remember, but we'll see when I get into the testing for this. So yeah, this also increases the rounds in the magazine and crit hit damage. Now, in terms of crit hit damage, I'm not 100% sure if this does anything to the gun. Like crits and stuff like that, I'm not sure if it does anything to your 4, but I know fire rate, firearm attack, and recoil, those all do stuff. But in terms of just firearm attack, or sorry, crit hit, I'm not sure. Criticals, I'm not sure if those do anything to your 4. Then we have action and reaction. This increases your recoil, but does give you a firearm attack boost. Fire rate up, which increases your fire rate. Stand stabilizer. This one, that's completely up to you. You could change this out. I just have this here for the increased recoil control. Because I am on controller, but for PC players, yeah, you're not going to need this. 100% not going to need this. Toxic enhancement, just to add toxic onto the gun. This does nothing for your 4, so this is also something you don't need. This is not mandatory as well. Rifling reinforcement, this you're going to need. This is mandatory, increases your firearm attack by 32%. And this mod right here, sharp precision shot. Okay, this one is a mandatory mod. You can also use mental focus if you don't have this, but sharp precision shot is the better version. So basically it takes away 20% of your fire rate. However, the longer you hold the trigger, the more fire rate you get back, the less recoil you have, and it increases your firearm attack by 6% every 0.6 seconds. This stacks up to 10 times. So by the time you get to full stacks, you should have a lot of fire rate and a lot of damage. However, mental focus, this is for if you don't have this. This takes away 10% of your fire rate, and it makes it so that when you shoot your firearm, or whatever gun you're shooting, you gain 0.5% firearm attack for 2 seconds. This does nothing to your fire rate though. This doesn't increase your fire rate, just increases your firearm attack. So now we're gonna get into the boss testing. And we're gonna be testing on 2 bosses here, so we're gonna do I'm gonna show you guys Executioner and Pyromaniac. I could also show you guys Devour as well, but I don't want to keep the video too long. So, only reason why I don't want to show you guys Devour and Dead Bride is simply because these guys are pretty strong, have strong resistance to Toxic, and I do have a Lepic build that I'm working on for bosses like these guys if you don't have Freyna. So I think I'm just gonna stick to Executioner and Pyromaniac for you guys today. So yep, we're gonna start with Executioner, and I'll see you guys over there. Alright, so here we are. This is gonna be Executioner. After this, I'll show you guys Pyromaniac. So what you wanna do for your bossing build, you just wanna activate your tube. Wanna go ahead and just hang out up here or hang out wherever you wanna hang out. You can sit down here, anywhere that's comfortable for you. And when the boss spawns like this and starts walking, activate your force so you have enough time to start damaging him. The trick to the boss fights are to get them to fall down like this so that you're able to finish the fight before they get back up and get into their immune phase. Because if the boss does get up and go into their immune phase, then that becomes a problem. But there is a workaround, because if you are running this build and somehow you get into immune phase, what you can do is just die, come back, you get your ultimate full, full again. You don't have to wait for the cooldown or anything, and just shoot his weak spot while he's in that immune phase, and it downs him as well. That should end the fight for you, but you should never have to get that far because of this build. So now we're gonna move on to Pyromaniac. Okay, so now we have Pyromaniac. He's basically the fire version of Executioner, so his fight doesn't go much different than Executioner. But off rip, he does hurt a lot. So it would be wise to use cover like this. But other than that, strategy's the same. You pop your 2, wait for him to walk like that, then pop your 4, and then just go to town on him. As you can see, that fight wasn't too smooth, because for some reason he went enraged. But what you can do is you could do what I just did, take it down, then you can just redo the setup again. Break his back, and then you should be good to kill him. But yeah, with this build, if he doesn't go immune, like how he just went immune for me, you guys should be able to take him down first phase without him even getting to be immune. Next, I'm gonna show you guys Devour, despite me telling you guys that I'm very weak to him because I'm toxic. But I'm just gonna showcase to you guys really quickly why I don't fight, why I'm not gonna be showcasing Devour. Alright, so this is the Devour fight. He's very strong to Toxic, which is why I didn't want to showcase Freyna on him, because I might not even one-face him. But I'm currently working on a Lepic build for bosses like this, just in case you don't have a Freyna build and don't have any other characters or have access to other characters. But yeah, basically everything's gonna be the same. You pop your 2 and you just go ahead and attack him. Actually, okay, yep, so that was Devour. I did not expect that to go that smooth, but yeah. So I guess we could kill Devour. I'm not gonna try Dead Bride because I'm almost certain I'm not gonna kill her. But yeah, build works perfectly fine for bossing and Contagion. Yeah, it's been your boy Shemi. Like I said, I'm currently working on a Lepic build, so stay tuned for that as well. It's going to be an ultimate Lepic build, so it's not going to be a regular Lepic. Any builds that I post moving forward are probably going to be ultimate characters and not regular characters. Unless they take too long to release ultimate versions of characters, then I'll try to get some builds out for the regular versions of those characters. So yeah, it's been your boy Shemi. Until next time, peace.